Okay. Okay, so we're all being recorded, and so welcome everyone, and we will post this recording up on Ed's Facebook page, kind of as a last tribute to him here. So,
excuse me, let's see if Walter can hear us. Walter?
Excellent, excellent.
Walter Blood, can you hear us? Nod your head, yes or no. Okay.
He's muted too.
Yeah, he's muted too, so he's trying to figure it out.
We're gonna get there. He'll figure it out.
Okay.
It'll happen. I believe in the process here.
Hi, Olga.
Peter, can you maybe? Oh, can we hear you now, Walter?
Looks like he left and is going to come back.
Oh, I see. Walter, can you speak?
You're not muted too.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Maybe if you locked off and get back in. I see Tom and Mara have signed in.
There for you.
We're here.
Yeah, those guys did.
Great.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Walter used the chat
That's
mode.
what Nadia used it too. Paper, happy paper.
Oh,
Linda, are you traveling somewhere?
I am. I'm on my way actually to Ed's house to sort of finish up there.
Oh, okay.
We just went through Yuma, just outside of Yuma right now.
Okay.
It's a
Somebody
picture of
else.
the snow on your driveway in Whittier.
I know there's lots of snow there.
Been there forever.
Now I know what it is.
And on the back here is road.
Oh, God.
1940. Oh, yeah. I have goosebumps.
Yeah, that's real snow.
Yeah, real snow.
Well, the picture had disappeared.
Mark has it.
I know.
No, I'm just looking around for. I got out twice and came back.
Right out way. Walter, we can hear you. No snow equipment in Whittier.
We hear Walter? Yeah, Walter, we can hear you.
He can't hear us.
Oh,
I'll
but
send it to
Walter,
you.
we've got half the battle here solved. So whatever your microphone setting is now, just leave it because we can hear you. And now just play with the I got confused with the speaker settings so that you can then hear us.
It's right on the page at the HTTPS.
I didn't follow that.
Yep.
But hopefully, Peter, hopefully you can help Walter. And again, welcome to everyone who's joining. If you could just paste your name and where you're from in the chat, it's just an easier way for us all to get to know each other. And we'll have a slideshow here of my Uncle Edley's life in a little bit, but we'll allow a few more minutes to allow people to join and just make sure we get most of the audio and video problems sorted out here. But a warm welcome to everyone. And I know Edley's so happy that we could all come together for this final party for him in his honor and just to honor the man that he is.
Yeah, that's why I was going to say it was.
Fred.
Hey,
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
It's Mary Lou. I took my video off. It provides for more bandwidth. I don't know if I can put it back on. I don't
Please do.
particularly like looking at myself.
Mary, we would love to see you.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi,
Your
Mary
trip got-
Lou.
Your trip got canceled, huh?
My trip got canceled. I'll whine to you about it later, maybe with some wine.
Yes, I think that's required.
Hey, Fred.
hi guys. I'm sorry I'm joining the party a little late, but my wife's not here, and technical, I'm not a techie, so it's a hassle getting back on, but I'm here.
You did
Love
fine.
dead.
I don't know.
Thanks
We're
for joining,
just barely
Fred.
starting, Fred.
Yeah, we're all kind of getting ourselves together here, so.
Okay, well,
Okay.
let me just say my little piece here, and then Ed came over to my house several times. I didn't know him until I went to Alaska, where he was I think he was a division chief. I can't remember for sure now, but Nobuko worked in collection. I knew her a little bit, but they invited me to, watch a sports game. And so I had just read an article about this really good beer, and I knew Ed liked beer. And there was like a prize-winning beer that was produced in Alaska. And so Nobuko took me to the place where you buy beer, state-operated place, I guess. And they had it on sale, and I thought, oh, great, I'll get a case. Well, what I thought was a case price was a six-pack price. And so Ed absolutely loved me after that. But he made a lot of parties at my house, and he'd always bring superior wine.
He loved your parties, Fred. He just loved them.
Yeah, I loved him. I'm sorry that we didn't get a chance to do more.
Yes, one thing about Ed, we did, whenever you invited Ed, you had to account for at least probably 6 more people, because he always brought along friends, and they were always welcome, and it always turned out to be a great time, but it was hard to plan.
Cousin?
Cousin.
S-I-N?
As far as I know.
Hey, Jerry, how are you?
Leonti, I think.
Jerry Heschel, we're practically neighbors.
Where are you?
Mary Lou?
This is Sue, Susan Roper.
Yeah, Sue, how are you?
I'm fine. You're in Peoria and we're in Waddell.
No, well, you must be thinking of Jerry Heschel.
Yeah, she is. She is.
Yeah, I'm in Fresno.
Well, they're two, on my screen, Jerry's are right together here.
Okay.
Jerry, you're a damn liar. You're in Clovis.
You're right.
Jamal, you better get back in charge of this.
Okay, I can do that. I'm just typing where I'm at right now here in the chat, and then we can start here. So again, welcome everyone. And whoops, we are going to start with a little slideshow here. So I'll request Peter to just share your screen, and you can show the slideshow that we all made for Edleen.
Off screen.
People say I'm the life of the party 'cause I tell a joke or two. Although I might be laughing lighthearted, deep inside I'm blue. So take a good look at my face. You know my smile looks like
When you can't find the light that guides you through a cloudy day, when the stars stay shining bright, it feels like you lost your way. When the candle lights of home burn so very far away, oh, you got to let your soul shine, just like my daddy used to say. Soul shine, oh, it's better than sunshine, better than moonshine, damn sure better than rain. People don't mind, we all feel this way sometimes. Got to let your soul shine, shine till the break of day. thinking I had it made to make it on my own. Life can take the strongest man and make him feel so alone. And now sometimes I feel a cold wind blowing through my aching bones. I think back to what my daddy said. He said, boy, in this darkness before the dawn, let your soul shine. Oh, it's better than sunshine, better than moonshine, damn sure better than rain. People don't mind, we all feel this way sometimes. Got to let your soul shine, shine till the break of day.
Thanks, Peter. So I'm just going to share just a little bit about, I call him, he's my uncle, Edley. Some of you know him as Ed, but in the family, we actually called him Edley. That distinguished him from his father because Ed was actually a junior. There was Ed Senior and Ed Junior, but instead of saying Ed Junior, it just turned into Edley. So I've always known him as my uncle Edley. So I'll just say a little bit about his life history and just a little bit about him, and then we'll go into breakout rooms and we can all just kind of tell stories there. And then we'll come back from the breakout rooms and share all of those stories. We'll close with some music. You know, we all know Edley really loved music. And that's basically the plan for the next hour and a half or so. His full name was Edwin Godfrey Fleming, Jr., and he was born in St. Mary's Hospital on July 29th, 1947. I believe that was in Tennessee there, that St. Mary's Hospital. He's the son of Helen Esther Percival and Edwin Godfrey Fleming Sr. Some people called him Edley. And so my grandmother, Helen, which was Ed's mother, now I called Helen Grammy, but she moved with many of her brothers and sisters to Tucson in 1955. And so Edley moved at that time to Tucson and spent his childhood in Tucson. And we have one of his classmates here with us today who's known him ever since those early childhood days. Edley graduated from Catalina Magnet High School in Tucson in 1965. And he went on to graduate from UCSB in 1972. And he worked for the police department in Tucson, and we all know he married Nobuko. And then in 1986, he joined the IRS. I believe many of you are here from the IRS. And he worked there for 18 years, and he worked all over the country. He worked in the Bay Area, in Alaska, in Cleveland, and in Washington, D.C., and he retired in the year 2004. And as he was working in the IRS, he had worked his way up to become the National HR Division Director. And after retirement, he moved to Prineville, Oregon. And sometime after that, he moved back to Tucson, where he spent the remainder of his life. He loved to drive up all the way from Tucson to Anchorage. And I've done that drive once. I lived with him. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I lived with him for a while in Anchorage. But he did that drive from Tucson up to Alaska 12 times. And he loved to just visit all of his friends along the way and just stop. And this is really what Edley's life was about, I think, was friendship, that he cared about all of his friends and all of the different parties that he would have, that he really would just make sure that everyone, absolutely everyone, felt comfortable, felt welcomed, and felt loved. And I just think that's such an important characteristic, such a fine distinguishing quality in him that I hope we all can carry that on and I don't know, just hold that in our hearts. Of course, we all hold him in our hearts. So Edley passed away on October 1st, 2021, and I'm the only surviving blood relative, but we know that he survives in each of your hearts and in your memories. And to me, that's the most precious bond, those feelings that we have that live on in our memories. So Edley was always helping my family, helping my mother, and I'm forever grateful for that. He helped her a lot financially, and he just was always there as a older uncle for me that I knew that I could always count on whenever needed. I have memories of Edley when I lived with him in Alaska in Anchorage that he had 2 cases of CDs. I mean, bookshelves, really. I don't know, of thousands of CDs. At that time, CDs were the latest technology. And there was a picture, if you've been to one of Edley's parties, I'm sure you've seen this picture, with the person with these speakers, and the speakers are playing so loudly, the man's tie is flying backwards. And of course, Edley had these big speakers, and he loved music. He loved sharing music. I mean, we all love feeling good. And of course, he loved feeling good too and helping others to feel good. And so just memories of all of those CDs and the stereo equipment. And of course, I was young. I think I was 8th grade and spent some time 9th grade there. So when Edley and Nobuko would go away, I would, get to have the stereo system all to myself and play loud music. And I just had so much fun with that. Edley was super smart. Since this is being recorded, I don't want to lie, but I think that he may have been a member of Mensa. There's no one for me to ask anymore, but or perhaps my mother told me that he passed the tests to get into Mensa, but he never officially joined. I don't honestly know. The point here is that Edley was super smart. We all know he enjoyed traveling. And I just want to tell a little story here. When I made that transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, Nobuko and Edley told me that if I got good grades, actually they said straight A's. You have to get straight A's, and then we'll give you they had some little fancy sports car at that time. We'll give you our sports car. And so I actually don't even remember. I think I may have gotten straight A's. There may have been 1 B+ in there. And so I never did end up with a car. But that's not the point. The point is them just giving that loving encouragement and helping me to do the best that I could do at that time in my life and in life in general. And I've always been really grateful to them for that. I also wrote this little story. You probably saw it on Edley's Facebook page. I forgot what I even called it, the little salmon or Sammy the salmon or something, but just memories of going up on the Talkeetna River and fishing with everybody and all of Edley's friends. And those memories, they're precious. We can never repeat those exactly again, but they live on, and Edley lives on with us as those memories. There was a time that I think it was, I'm not sure if both of them were there, Edley and Nobuko, but anyways, Mount Diablo here, right outside of the Bay Area, that they took my brother and I up. This was the best mountain bike trip I ever had, because, normally when you're on a mountain bike, there's some fun downhill parts, but then you have to pay for it because you have to ride the bicycle back up another hill, and you kind of realize that this all adds up to 0. But what they did is they had us, they drove us up in a car to the top of Mount Diablo. So we got to only enjoy the fun part, which was riding back down to their house in Clayton, California when they lived there. So that was also a fun time for me, just a fun memory. So Edley always, if you look at his Facebook page or if you knew him well, that all those who have passed on before him, like example, Nobiko, his grandmother, my mother, that he would always keep their spirit alive with a little post on Facebook. And so I hope that we all too can just keep Edley's spirit alive by having fun with one another and in whatever way you want to do as the years pass on. But that's something that I'm going to do, is remember to honor him on his day of passing and his birthday. So that's really it from me. I'm really grateful that all of you could come today. And so now we're going to go into breakout rooms. I'll explain this a little bit and the theory behind it, and we'll see how it actually works out. But basically, our beloved tech guy here is going to force us, whether we like it or not, into breakout rooms. I think there's 30 of us here. Maybe we could do 5 each, 5 people in each breakout room, or whatever you've done back there in the background there, Peter, while I've been talking. And so the idea is that it's just a little small intimate group. It's going to be all random, so you may or may not know each other. And you can just tell whatever stories you like about Edley, and then we'll take the good ones. The idea is to get one story at least that you want to tell, and 20 minutes from now we'll come back to this kind of main room, if we can call the virtual room a room, and we'll share all of those stories, and I'm sure there'll be time to share other stories as well. So please pay attention. It's going to put you automatically now into room number 1 or room number 4 or whatever. Please pay attention to what room you're in. I also will do my best to keep track of it all. And then we'll come back in 20 minutes and we'll share all the stories. So are there any questions about this little adventure we're about to go on? No? Okay, Peter, if you're ready, you can press the magic button and force us all into these rooms.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Okay, hi. I actually didn't know I was going to be in a room, and I'm not sure exactly what I should do. I guess I'll just participate, but at some point I need to come back out of this and take a picture as to which room everybody's in, so that there's not mass chaos and confusion when we all come back into the room. But why don't each of you just introduce yourself and any stories you want to tell? I'm all ears. Susan, you
I'll
are
start.
muted. Okay, hi, Marcia.
Hi, I met Ed I worked with him in the IRS in Anchorage, and we worked together on some training things, but he was always super supportive for me and taught me a lot of things I learned about Ed. And we just kept in touch all these years. When he was in Sacramento, I went and met up with him for lunch one day when I was up there. And so I don't know, we've always been friends. I don't have any crazy stories, but
you know, honestly, just that bond of friendship, it's a very precious thing. And there doesn't have to be any crazy stories. I feel that he lives on in that bond, and it's very meaningful, that in and of itself. Yeah, thanks. Susan?
Hi.
Hi.
I met Ed in Sacramento and then worked for him in Oakland. And at one point in my career, I got to travel to Washington, D.C. every other week for about 3.5 years. And I would stop in and see him. And he'd always take me to the Greek restaurant, which was fabulous, introduced me to food. But he introduced me to a lot of things. I mean, opened my mind, so to speak, because he was so brilliant. And I'm going to try to get through this. He also, on Edley's Great Adventures, when we moved to Arizona, he would stop and see us. And he did that a couple of times, once with Linda. And it was always such a fun time. We just laughed our heads off. And of course, there was wine involved. But, you know, he had such a huge heart. That's what I'll remember the most.
Did have a huge heart. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your names there. It's written silver. But the two of you,
Hi.
Hi.
I don't know if you can hear us.
we can hear you and see you.
Okay, we are Edley's cousins. We,
Great.
first
Okay,
cousins.
okay,
Our mom was Pat,
wonderful.
your mom's sister.
Okay, okay, wonderful.
So,
your
grandmothers.
Yeah, that would be my
Grandmothers.
grandmother's sister. I
Yeah,
understand.
you're,
Edley was the oldest of 25 first cousins, so there's a bunch of us.
Oh, that's right, because my grandmother, Grammy, she was the oldest, so it's likely that Edley then would be the oldest of that kind
Yeah.
of generation.
yep.
Interesting, interesting.
He-
Can I have your contact information? I'm just trying to build a little family tree. I'm a little late at this in life, but I want to get to know all of my relatives.
Oh, yeah.
So how could we go about that? Oh, we just lost somebody again, but
Oh, I don't know. I can give you my email.
okay. Should I just write it down or can you put it in the chat or what?
I can put it in the chat, I
Okay,
believe,
okay. And
possibly.
I'll take
So-
it from there.
So we knew
Oops.
Edley in Tucson when we were little.
Oh,
Mhm.
no, did I lose you?
No,
No, I'm still here. I can hear and see you.
Okay.
and then we knew him. We hung out with him. His parent when he lived in Santa Barbara, and we lived in
Okay.
California.
Yes.
And then he went. I didn't know him when I went back to Tucson, but I went up and met Nobuko in Alaska. But I was living in Seattle and he came up there and was in that area a lot. And so I got to know him as an adult. And he is a sweet man. He was just,
He was a love.
and we all call him Medley. And it's the same kind of people who call me Sammy from when I was, 9, 10 years old,
Uh-huh.
it's just got that kind of thing to it. And it's all people like my cousins and your mom was really important to me, to us. And
Mhm,
and
she
Helen lived with us at different times in our
Oh,
childhood
okay.
when she was having trouble with Ed and
Mhm.
stuff. So,
Mhm.
but she was a big part of our lives. And I met you a couple times when you were really little, and then when you were going to college, you swung by Tucson to.
I knew him as Fat Pat the Democrat. When he passed away, was that when I came through for his funeral? I was in
Uncle
college
Pat?
at that point.
No, that was
That wasn't it. So some other time then I must have come through.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Pat was part of our lives too when we were little.
Yeah,
Not mine. I don't remember hardly anybody. I'm the youngest, so.
I see.
But then we all got busy moving around and,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
My grandmother, she died when I was young, so but I still have some clear memories of just how loving and kind she was. She was really, really good.
Your mom was very kind and loving, and I got to know her when I had my oldest daughter, and I lived in Tucson for a bit, and actually in outside of
Las Vegas.
no.
Did you live outside of Vegas?
I did live in Vegas too. I got to meet her up there too.
When you lived in Wickenburg?
I never lived in
Oh.
Wickenburg. I used to like going through there, but Phoenix.
Mhm.
When I lived outside of Phoenix at the Air Force Base, I was military.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
But
Ed was in the Navy too.
That's right, he was.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, he used to ride motorcycles with my dad,
Mhm.
dirt bikes and
Mhm.
stuff. And I just have lots of memories of him.
I'm pretty sure Edley brought back a motorcycle from Vietnam on the ships. I don't know how he did it, but I'm pretty sure there's a story of him doing that. So
that sounds about right.
yeah.
And he was actually cool. And when he was that age. I mean, he was cool as an adult, but I remember him being a really cool cousin, and even though he was older than we were. This was a
Right.
beautiful thing that she did for him.
Well, I just felt we had to do something. I mean, Edley wasn't really religious, and that usually is the thing that people feel they have to do or go to some bad place or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do anything religious here because it's not his thing. But I just felt we all had to come together just to honor that big heart that he had, and I just felt it would be meaningful to him, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So I don't think any of us know how it all works on the other side, but hopefully he knows that we love him. That's the thing. So
We
how
got closer. Him and I got closer through one of his travels coming through, and then on Facebook, and we would text and message each other and send each other, music. And that became a big love language, was his music and his sharing of it. And I miss him.
We all miss him. I feel that music is a very powerful force for conveying different emotions or feelings, and I feel like Edley just really knew how to use that and was very sensitive to that, and would kind of uplift people with that, or just help people by using it.
Jamal, he never missed anybody's birthday. As you probably well know, we always had a song that he would send us on our birthdays.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess I actually don't know that much, but I've heard that he had a birthday club where he just kind of knew everybody's birthdays, and he would send everybody a song for their birthday.
Yep.
Yeah.
He also, my daughter-in-law, her father was in the Navy, so they shared that, and my husband was in the Navy. So there was kind of a joint friendly, out of that anyway. But my daughter-in-law, her grandfather, he was 98, he just passed away recently. And he and Ed, I said, hey, Ed, you might really want to talk to Dan, because during the elections, he was quite vocal about his opinions. And so was my daughter-in-law's grandfather. And so anyway, they became best friends on just chatting back and forth and texting each other. And it was such a nice thing. And I remember when he passed, Ed was just heartbroken about it, but and they had never met. We planned on getting them together, but we never did.
I haven't been on Facebook my whole life. It's just something that seemed a little dangerous, but I read through a lot. I spent hours and hours reading through Edley's Facebook posts, and I actually wished for that reason I would have been on it, because that's where he really expressed himself, and I feel I would have known him deeper had I been there. But life just, I guess, I don't know. We don't always get to know each other the way we wanted.
He left you that legacy. That was really neat to have that, for you to be able to go back through all of that.
That's true. Yeah, I really got to, that's true, to know him deeply, and he was very vocal about all kinds of things, very public and so. But it was good. He was very real. He was who he was. Yeah.
He made, when you were with him, you felt like, the most important person in his life in that moment. He was just present, and he sent the most incredible photographs of skies and beautiful pictures of the mountains and deserts. And
that was another thing that he and I really connected with, is we both loved the Arizona sunsets and sunrises, and we would exchange pictures and ooh and ah, and he was just always so, he was just so wonderful about commenting on my photos, how wonderful they were, and always so upbeat and loving.
Yes.
And supportive, very supportive.
Very.
Yes.
this is about your mom, but when I was really little, we had a bunch of cousins in Tucson, and she would take us all in her car to the drive-in, a whole bunch of little kids, and we'd be all hyper on candy and whatever. And she was just so fun. She was our go-to.
Older cousin, huh?
Yeah, we went and saw all the like 3 of the Planet of the Apes movies in one night at a big giant drive-in.
That's a great memory.
Wow. Wow. Huh. Yeah. I miss them all. There's but that's how it is.
Jamal, may I ask what you do in India?
Sure. I'm a monk. And so I live in a monastery in India. And it's a fusion between Christianity and Hinduism. Our main practice is meditation and, finding peace within ourselves, and kind of to support the monastery and myself and to keep things going, I teach meditation online. And so we advertise all over the world. We have students all over the world, and I manage teachers mainly based in India. This is kind of fun for me, but we just turned on a new advertising campaign, and India has over 1 billion people. So we have 300 people expressing interest per day, and I'm just scrambling to find enough teachers. And
how do we follow that?
if you go to I'll type it in the chat.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can all use the meditation, believe me.
Definitely.
If you just go to ananda.org.
Oh, Ananda.
Yeah, and actually you won't be able to connect with me directly, but let me just give everyone here my email ID and then I'll explain why. Unfortunately, ANANDA, India, yeah, there's my email address. I actually have some business meetings. It's a weird thing to be a monk and have business meetings. But students that live in India, even if they can't kind of log into our American side of things, and Americans wanting to go get the cheaper meditation prices in India, they get redirected back to our American site. So the exact work I do, you'd have to do it here in America through this website. But I'm happy to just answer any questions. The easiest way to reach me is email. I have WhatsApp and it's always a mess and I never get through all of them, but I religiously check my mails every day or almost every day. I take one day off. So
Jamal, it went away on the screen. Is it somewhere else?
it went away. So what you do here is you go down, there should be a little chat icon. Are you on the bottom?
Yes.
And just click that and it should
I
come
see
back
it.
up.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
It's incredible to meet you.
I've had an interesting life growing up in Las Vegas, of all places, Sin City, and ending up becoming a monk. I really want to get to know my mom's side of the family better. So I will be in touch. There's so many
Yes.
there. So
Big family.
yeah.
I grew up in Las Vegas also.
Did you really, Marcia?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, my whole life there. Well, until I was 20.
Wow.
So I graduated from Clark High School.
Well, my dad was the principal of Clark High School, not when you were there, but for a long time. It's like, he's so proud of that. He loves Clark High School. I've been there for many, many
That's
times.
fun.
Interesting. Well, you guys are gonna get automatically kind of kicked back into that other room in 2 minutes and we can tell whatever stories we want. I told everybody to know what room they were in and I don't even know what room we're in.
I think 5.
Okay, you guys are so good. Okay, so I'm gonna just do my little duties here and figure this all out, but I will see you guys there then.
Thank you so much, Jamal.
Okay.
Thank you, Jamal.
Okay.
Hi, Susan. I've seen your posts a lot on Facebook too.
Oh.
And I think we might be friends on Facebook
I'm sure we are.
through Edley. But yeah, so it's nice to meet you too.
Oh, it's nice to meet you. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Silver,
And
like the
your
color.
and the other gentleman?
That's Sam, my brother.
Sam, you look like Ed.
Thank you.
There's a resemblance there.
Wow.
That's a compliment.
Were you at his wedding up in Washington?
No, I didn't meet Ed until like 1982, maybe.
Oh, well, this was in the 90s when he married somebody named Kathy. Didn't last very long, but I met a lot of his friends from the IRS there.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a big outdoor. It was at a vineyard, and it was pretty nice.
Oh.
But I just and what one of his friends told me, she said, I can't remember who it was, but she said that when he came to work at the IRS in her department, her and her coworkers and friends decided that they wanted him to be their boss. So they worked really hard to get him to be their boss. And I just never heard a story like that before. And they just loved him. All these, especially women, but all these coworkers just
Bad cat. He was very good to work with.
Yeah, he really was. And he loved women.
Yes, he did. He did.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Bit of a rogue.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. When Craig and I moved, my husband and I moved to Concord, and so we were just, they were just down the hill in Clayton. I guess we were there for maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 years. But that was fun because we were pretty much neighbors.
Oh wow.
Oh,
that had to be cool.
Yeah, it was fun. That's where I met Nobuko. My husband worked with Nobuko.
I never actually got to meet Nobuko.
I did.
She was lovely.
Yeah, she was.
Very lovely.
I'm back.
Okay, everyone, we're all back. I'll give us just I don't know, a few more seconds here for us all to get our bearings. But now we have a half hour, and the idea is that we can share whatever the best stories or whatever you guys want to share from the room. So in the first breakout room, we had Carolyn, Fred, Jerry, Linda, Mara and Tom Eckhart, and Wayne. So whatever stories from room number 1, you guys have 5 minutes here.
Well, real quick, I'll just tell the recommended that I tell this. Sherry and I went on our first and only cruise with Ed, and I'll do this again. The woman that he married for a couple of days. Married like this, just married. Anyway, we went on a cruise with them, and we were studying what we could do and what we couldn't do leading up to the cruise. And one of the things was couldn't bring any booze. So we roll onto the cruise ship with no liquor, and Ed shows up with these little guys lugging these 2 giant suitcases that are clanking and banging, and they can hardly get them up the gangplank or the stairs or into the room. And when he gets them in the room, he opens them up. They're both full to the top of bottles of booze. And I just went, man, how'd you get that on board? And he just went, I just told him to bring it up. So we had naturally cocktails, all taken care of, thanks to Ed.
Probably saved like $800 at least.
At least. Yeah. We managed to spend it, and I'm sure we drank it all up. It was a long 21 days. We drank it all up and then some.
Well, I'm just going to mention my little story, and that is that Ed was not only smart, but a great writer. I always enjoyed his text, his emails, Facebook. His clarity of thought was amazing.
Anything else from room number one?
Gary?
Well, we just were very fortunate. We'd always planned, Ed and Wayne and I had always planned to retire in some close proximity to each other because we spent a lot of time and not as much time as we'd wanted to. Because we lived in Alaska and he had eventually been down here in the South 48, as we call it, when we're in Alaska. So we were very happy to be very close to him here and able to spend a lot of time just hanging out and visiting and having dinners together and enjoying each other's company.
And I'll say one more thing that was asked of me in the room I was in, and many of you probably don't know, was Ed's continued reference to the Linda Ronstadt and the Ronstadt family. Ed worked as early in his career was a policeman here in Tucson. And he was on career track police. And the chief of police at the time was Peter Ronstadt, who was Linda's sister, and they became friends. And they still were friends and still are friends. And so that's the connection with the Ronstadt family. Although I think Ed had actually met Linda one time at a family gathering. Other than that, he had never been in contact with her, but he sure talked it up like he was her best friend.
Yeah, he was tight with the Ronstadt family, very tight.
Oh, yeah.
She went to high school with us.
Oh.
She was 1 year ahead of us.
There you go.
Anything else from room number one? Okay, we'll move to room number two then. So do you guys all know who you are from room number two?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Shall I tell the GTO story?
Yes, why not?
People in group number two. In 1964, when Ed and I were juniors in high school, GM came out with the GTO in their Pontiac division. It was the first supercar. And Ed was working for the local newspaper. He was writing sports stories, although he was only, how old were we? 16, I guess. But he was a sports writer, and he had enough money. He wanted to own the GTO. And so he went to his father, and they made a deal that he would pay half and his family would pay half of the cost of a GTO. And so here we were at Catalina High School, and this is the first GTO in Tucson. And I want to tell you, that was big time. That made, for me, all these years later, Ed was still the guy with the first GTO. One other thing about Ed that we didn't mention, we should have, is that he was very, very into Mexican food. I remember when we visited in Prineville, he would take us down to get Mexican food. And when he moved back to Tucson, or Green Valley, actually, we used to go out with groups of people.
Doesn't help.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, just can't
Carry on.
see. Anyway, we would all go out in these big groups of Mexican food aficionados. And I should shut it up so that other people in this group can add some things.
Thank you, Jim. Those are lovely stories. That GTO is very famous. I heard about it many, many times. It's good that it lives on. Who else?
Jamal, that GTO is the car that your mother learned how to drive in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hot car.
Yeah.
We also remarked on how articulate and clear Ed's thoughts and writings were, and that he was,
a great person anyway, and you knew where you stood.
Yeah, he
He
always did.
definitely was very clear on what he thought and what was important to him, and expressed that in writing beautifully.
Yeah, yeah, really, really did. You know, when I was in graduate school at USC, Ed and Pat, his wife then, came to LA, and he worked for the Auto Club, and she was a graduate student. And so they were the only people from Tucson that I knew in LA. And it was sure wonderful having them there. Really was.
Tell me about the ladies' man comment that somebody made.
The what?
Yes, we also noted that when you look at the PowerPoint presentation,
Oh, yeah.
and also just knowing Ed, the ladies loved him and he loved them.
Yeah.
He was definitely, I would call him a ladies' man, but it was just, women loved him.
Yeah.
Me included.
We were saying the same thing in the room I was in, that Edley was definitely a ladies' man, big heart, loved many people, and everyone loved him.
He was a charmer who the ladies responded to. He had a lot of charm.
Yeah, he did. He did. You know, when we visited him for the first time in DC, he introduced us to something very important, Ruth's Chris Steaks.
Ah, yes.
Oh, boy. Mhm.
I had a lot of dinners at Ruth's Chris in Washington near the airport with Ed over
That's the one we went. Yeah, near the airport. That was the one.
Well, should we move to room number 3? Any stories from there? Walter, do you have any other stories? Or Peter and Teresa, Marilyn? Marilyn?
Yeah,
you
I
certainly have
can-
stories.
Oh.
Yeah, whoever wants to go first.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you remember, but when we were little, the first time, I think it was the only time I ever met you in person, was when Edley and Nobuko and your mom and you and your brother came to Tucson. I don't know if you remember that. You were very little, but my mom Stephanie was Edley's cousin, first cousin.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I was very
uh,
little.
Yeah, you were very little, and we all met up. It was a big family reunion. I have no idea where we were because I was pretty young too. But that was the first time I really remember meeting Edley because he had moved away when I was so young. He moved pretty far away, and that was the time that I accidentally called Nobuko Novocaine because I didn't know her name, and nobody ever let me forget that. I don't know if you've ever heard that story.
No, I haven't.
No, that was a good one.
But yeah, he I found me on Facebook a few years ago and we started talking and I really got to know him and found out we were just a lot alike. Our birthdays were so close together. Mine's July 30th. Just had so much in common. And so it was really nice to kind of reconnect with him and get to know him as a grown-up and to go out to his house and spend, I think it was his 70th birthday. We went out there when he first moved back. So it was just really nice and to spend those last years with him.
Both big hearts, I can say. Just really like to share. It's just, very open.
My husband, Peter.
Hi, Peter. Teresa and Peter, please, before this all ends, if I can get your email addresses, I really want to get to know my mother's side of the family, Edley's side of the family better. I have so many relatives there in Tucson and all over. So if we can connect, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. If you're on Facebook, I'm on Facebook.
The thing is, I'm not on Facebook.
Oh, you're not?
I actually had a friend of mine kind of get me on so I could read all of Edley's posts, and I got to know him so well. And a part of me wishes that I'd been on Facebook just to get to know him so much. But Anyway, we'll connect in some way.
I'll have Peter put the email for you.
Okay, thanks.
If you're talking to I think it was Janie was doing a lot of stuff.
Yes, she was, yes.
Janie and I talk a bit, and
Okay.
Alyssa, and, we're all around the same. Well, I'm older than them.
Great.
But we're all around the same age. So.
Yeah.
Jamal, can you put your email address on chat so I can send you mine?
Sure, give me 1 second. I'll just give my email address to everybody here in the meeting.
Okay.
And yeah, this is my preferred method of communication is email. We have so many forms of communication these days. Okay, so that's the one. So yeah, there, please, anyone, send me a mail. Love to get to know everyone better. Marilyn, I think you were about to tell us some good stories.
Well, I don't know about good stories, but talking about Ed the ladies' man, my story with him starts with Nobuko. We were in the same revenue officer training class in 1970. And Nobuko, when Ed came to Southern California in the mid 70s, he became a revenue officer, and somehow Nobuko had gone to some training class where I think she was instructing or something, and she met him. And then she decided to manipulate her way into becoming his coach. So then she was his revenue officer coach. And from there, she was totally bonkers in love with him. I mean, I can tell you from being the girlfriend, talking back and forth, she was gone. It was just an amazing thing. And then they got married in '79 and moved on to Tucson. But the only argument I ever really remember was about him buying cassettes and CDs. He would go off to buy a carton of milk and come back with 10 cassettes or 20 cassettes or whatever, and they would get into this big to-do about it. But then it never mattered because he never stopped doing it. He really couldn't help himself. But yeah, she was madly in love with him.
I love hearing people refer to him as Ed Lee, because he wasn't called that, forever. But that was certainly how I first knew him.
Certainly love music, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit here. But at this moment, I just want to thank you, Marilyn and Victoria, for being the driving force that helped put this whole event together. That we just really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jamal. I mean,
well, we've all worked together, but thank you. So what room were we in? Room number 3 there? What were the names? What other stories are there? Darren or Carol, Karen, anything you'd like to share? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Carol.
I think of just a big theme that came across was his caring for other people. Women, men, co-workers, aspiring leaders. Ed was just there for others in a way that it's kind of hard to comprehend. Most people, I think, have 5 to 10 close people. Ed was close and caring, and it was a beautiful thing about him.
It really was.
Yeah, 600 friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Plus, you all know that Facebook was probably the most important method of him staying connected to everybody that he cared about during the past 2 or 3 years. It was just a significant ability for him to vent when he needed to tell somebody he loved them when he needed to play music for their birthday. It was just his way of staying connected with everybody, because he was pretty isolated towards the end of his life.
And Facebook is so boring now without him.
All those emojis.
That's true.
I can't even begin to use all the emojis and trying to figure out what he meant. Why did he put the dancing lady in every one of them? You know, I mean, right.
I used to say, Marilyn, that English was a second language and that emojis was how he really
Yeah,
communicated.
what did he ever do before emojis? I mean, you know, he finally had to type out some of those nasty words because you can only use the little shit emoji so many times, you know.
And how many times did he say, "You can't make this shit up"?
Right. Oh, you can't. Yeah, you can't. Right.
That's
Exactly.
right.
And it was true. It was true because as Wayne and Sherry probably know this as well as everybody, and perhaps Linda, that this last year was really, really hard for him. It was really hard. And he was not exaggerating. He was not exaggerating with all those posts that he would talk about. The things that were happening to him were just beyond belief.
Exactly. Yeah.
Getting that advocate, that Ann Getty, I was going to send her a link to this because people would probably at least like to see her.
Yes.
It was such a relief for him to have somebody do interference. I tried to do interference at the beginning because of the medical POA that I had, and I was totally incompetent at it. I mean, all I could do was call and yell at people, you know. But she really helped him through the system. But yeah, his emojis and the way he described everybody, you know. Okay, can everybody tell me who Black Jesus was?
Oh yes, that doctor.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It was Dr. Barry, right?
Yeah.
That's what he used to refer to him as.
Yeah.
Because he was his savior. When he met Dr. Barry, that was the first, what he felt was a medical person that he could communicate with, who was on the same wavelength with him, who understood what his deeds were, and he just felt that he was a savior, you know?
Yes.
Any more stories? I forget which room. We're in room number 3 here. Should we move on to room 4? Okay, I guess we can move on to room 4, which is Betsy, Donald, Douglas, Linda, Berman, Olga, and Terry.
We failed the assignment because we didn't come up with one story.
It's okay.
We have at least 3 or 4 of us have 34 years of Ed stories, so it's really hard to condense it down into one perfect Ed story. But I was lucky. I got to go on some of Ed's adventures. I can't even count the number of cities we met up and had a fabulous dinner, and I got to meet half or more than half the people on the call today just because of Ed. And I was sharing that he was here in Folsom where I lived for a while, and Ed had a way of, whenever he went into a restaurant more than once, they knew him. And they knew what he wanted, and they treated him like a king as he thought he deserved. So there's a little sushi restaurant around the corner from me, and he liked his shrimp cooked with the head on, deep fried. They didn't have it on the menu, but by the second or third time we went in there, we would walk in and they'd start making it. So lots of good memories, socializing, and eating and drinking, and listening to great music.
Food was definitely a big theme. You know, if there was a good restaurant, Ed knew about it. And I think it was Douglas that said around Ed, there was never a dull moment. Never. His kids still remember Ed from when he visited them when they were teenagers. And I think, you know, just the way he embraced his friends were so important to him. You know, when he could travel, he loved visiting friends and seeing their homes. He felt like homes were an expression of the person, and he loved seeing homes and building homes. I mean, when he got to Tucson, oh my God, it was, or Green Valley, you know, he had to remodel and make it his. But yeah, but even, you know, Marilyn mentioned how important Facebook was to him because he was so isolated in the last couple of years before he traveled and visited his friends. But he was so good at reaching out on Facebook. And I think Vicky mentioned how eloquent and clear he could be in his writing. And I introduced him to someone he had never met, also had an IRS background, but they became very close friends on Facebook, even though they'd never met. And I just found out in this room that Terry Nicholson was introduced to Ed on Facebook by the same person that I introduced Ed to. So he developed two very close friends who he'd never met, just reaching out to them and sharing things on Facebook. It was incredible.
It is wonderful how technology allows us all to come together and develop these bonds. It's true.
Jamal, I'd like to add just one little thing.
Please.
To me, Edwin was the kind of person that I see, they have their own gravity. People are drawn to him. They're drawn to people like Edwin. And I mean, he's easy to be drawn to. He's so the charm. He's likable. He's interested in people. He's interested in you, and you can't help but be interested in him. And I admire people like that, and there aren't that many people in the world who are like Edwin. So I really treasure the opportunity that I had to get to know him in the last couple of years, even though I didn't know the traveling Edwin, but I sure like the one that I did know.
Thank you, Terry. Wow. Yeah, he really cared about people, and maybe that's what gave him that gravity. Olga or Donald, Douglas, anybody? No force here, but just if you wish.
As they put their thoughts together, can I mention something?
Fred, sure.
Yeah, I just want to say I provided Ed one of the best New Year's parties he's ever been to. And I know that because he liked my wife a lot. And that particular day, I mixed up my medicine and the booze and I had to go to bed. And so he spent hours drinking good wine and entertaining my wife. And I know that he had a great time.
And now we all know the criteria for the best New Year's Eve
Yeah.
party ever.
Jamal, in group number 4, there was also a really good story about a Mexican restaurant.
Well,
it wasn't
you want to
from
tell
me.
it? Do you want to tell the story, Terry, or somebody else?
Terry, are you referring to my story?
Yes, Donald, yes.
Well, Ed and myself and a couple of other people from Anchorage were in San Diego for I was clarified that I was told it was a boondoggle. I said business trip, but I was told I should have said boondoggle. And Ed decided that we should all go out to this Mexican restaurant he'd heard about. He said he'd never been there, but he'd heard it was really good. So we should all go out to this Mexican restaurant, and being in San Diego, who I, of course, thought, he knows what he's talking about. I assumed we were going to be walking some short distance from the hotel. We ended up walking over to a light rail station, getting on the train, and we were on the train for quite a while. We ended up in San Ysidro and walked across the border into Mexico, into Tijuana. So this restaurant that Ed had heard about, that was, and it was, as I remember, it was a very good restaurant, was actually in Mexico, and we'd ridden all the way down to Mexico, went to the restaurant. And my only concern was, would there be any trouble getting back across the border? Because I thought, if I tell the Border Patrol, when they ask, why were you in Mexico, and say, because I was out to dinner, I just didn't imagine that would be the perfect thing to tell the border people about why I was in Mexico. But it turns out that that's a common thing there, and that they didn't even blink an eye when that's what I said. I went to dinner. I said, okay, thank you, and welcome back. And that was it. But like I say, he wasn't clear on where this restaurant was. So when we got on that train and went down to the border and then walked across the border, that was kind of surprise as to where we were going to eat.
Well, that looks like it was quite a journey to another country for Mexican food, but others have said that he loved Mexican food. That story, that proves it right there.
Well, Ed on per diem was a dangerous person. Okay, well, maybe we could move to room number 5, which was the room I was in. So Silver or Sam, Susan, Marcia, whoever wants to say anything.
Are they all there too?
You can't see them.
Or Mara, Tom, do you have something to say? Fine.
Remember working with it and how much I enjoyed it, and how we had a lifelong friendship after that and kept in contact. And he was always super, super supportive. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Marcia. Susan, so many people on the screen here. There you are. Oh, you're muted, Susan.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, our group talked a lot about.
Oh,
What's that?
That was Fred. I just muted him.
Oh,
I still love you, Fred.
sorry, Fred.
But, okay, go ahead, Susan.
We talked a lot in our group about how big a heart Ed had, and how, you know, I've known him now, I guess, gosh, going on almost 40 years, which is scary. But, you know, I worked for him in Oakland, and then I always would go to DC. At one point, I was going every other week. So I would meet Ed for lunch or dinner. And he took me to a great Greek restaurant that he really liked and introduced me to Greek food. And I would just thought of something else, the food stories. You know, he always posted pictures of dinners that he was having with his friends when he traveled on his adventures. And Betsy, I'm going to blame you, because he would always show these fabulous dinners that he had with Betsy. And then when he'd come to visit me, it was like so much pressure, you know, like, how am I going to serve him? And how, you know, what is he? I had to kind of outdo him. And Linda came to visit us one time here in Arizona as well. And my favorite picture of us is Linda and I are just laughing our asses off with wine in our hand. And posted that picture on Facebook, and he just said that was one of his favorite pictures of his 2 favorite women, he said. But, you know, we all know we had lots of girls.
Lots of favorite women. The woman he's with is his favorite.
Exactly.
Who was that Greek restaurant in Crystal City?
It was. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a great restaurant.
Wasn't it?
Loved going there with him.
Yeah.
Well, some of the Washington folks were talking about having a dinner there, but I think that I'm not sure it's open at the moment, or maybe it was closed or something, but they had talked about doing that. Linda Reagan and that group.
It should be done. It sounds like a nice thing to do. That would be good. Silver, Sam, are you guys there?
We're here.
Okay.
It's just I know I'm just listening to these stories and getting so much more sense of how many people adored him, and he will be missed, and it's just not fair that he's gone.
Yeah, when I found out that he was gone, it didn't seem real. It just didn't seem like he wasn't there anymore. And hear all these stories and actually have a ceremony, a techno ceremony about it is really important to me. And thank you for taking this on. This has been wonderful. And I said it earlier in my smaller room that he really, when you were with him, you were with him. He made you feel like you were the most important person right then. And he just was beaming love, and he was funny and told bad jokes, and it was just great. I really loved him. I really love you for doing this for us.
I guess that was all of us, huh, from that room? Well, I think the fact that you really loved him and we all really loved him, that's a good ending moment here for this section. We have one more section planned and then we'll wrap up. And I guess many of you know how important music was to Ed Lee, and that he had a birthday club where he would send music to people for their birthday. So we thought for this little section that we'll play what I'm told was Ed Lee's favorite song, From Boulder to Birmingham. And during the 3 minutes that this song is playing, you can just type in the chat if there was a song that Ed Lee sent you that's one of your favorites, or that you and he shared together in whatever way, and we'll have a record of that also, just of all the songs. And then we can come back together and have a few more minutes of stories about songs, and we'll wrap up here.
Okay, let me interrupt just a
Yeah,
second.
sure, Wayne, sure.
Just before you do that, let me interrupt and show you this and see if you can see it.
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
Can you see that?
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that since my childhood. So yeah, I'm so happy that that lives on. That's wonderful.
There you
Okay,
go. Yeah.
and Jamal, if you want this, you just tell me how to get it to you and I'll get it to you.
It's here. Oh, that's so sweet.
I really appreciate that, Wayne. Let me think on that. I travel a lot, and I'm not sure, but
It's a Memorex.
I might take it. I do.
Someplace in California, I can drop it. You just let me know.
Okay, thank you. That's precious to me. Thank you. Okay, so Peter, you can play the song, and everybody in the chat, we can just light that up here, and we can just, your favorite song that you shared with him, you can type that in there.
I don't wanna hear a love song. I got on this airplane just to fly, and I know there's life below me, but all that you can show me is the prairie and the sky. And I don't wanna hear a sad story full of heartbreak and desire. The last time I felt like this, I was in the wilderness and the canyon was on fire, and I stood on the mountain of the trucks as they move down out on 95 and pretend that it's the ocean coming down to wash me clean, to wash me clean. Baby, do you know what I mean? I would rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. I would hold my life in his saving grace. I would walk all the way from Boulder to Birmingham if I thought I could see your face. If I thought I could see your face.
Thank you, Peter, for playing that. Some people here have said they have to go, so blessings to you. Thank you for coming. And for others who can stay, we can, if anyone has any stories they want to share about music or anything regarding music that touched you from Edley, and then yeah, so is there anybody who has any stories there, anything they want to share?
I just have a question for you. Are you going to, his Facebook site will still be up that we can continue
Yes.
to post to?
Oh, well, Marilyn's kind of the chief of command on that one. But I think what we're going to do, she can correct me if I'm wrong, maybe we'll leave it open for a few more days so that people can post more thoughts about this event. We'll certainly post this event up there. But then at some point we will memorialize it. And my understanding is that kind of locks it so that people can't post any more things.
Oh, okay.
But maybe we should wait a week or whatever Marilyn thinks here so that people can express. Yeah.
Well, I had just not wanted, I didn't want to memorialize it because I was afraid that before we had this event today that we would be prevented from communicating. But Wayne, I'd ask you to, because I don't really know what it means to memorialize something on Facebook. Do you know what that means when we do that? Because Janie's going to do it, or you can do it whenever we're ready.
Oh, Wayne, you're muted.
I don't know much about it. I can talk to Janie about it. I know that I have some friends that I don't know if they've memorialized their Facebook page or not, but on their birthdays, I go to them and remember them on that site. I mean, I post stuff on my deceased friends' Facebook pages. I can certainly look into it and find out, because it's kind of nice to go to a person's page and you kind of leave a little message for them. It's I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. But I'll look into it, and if we can talk about it.
Because he'll always be with us.
Well, that's
Right.
great. Yeah, if we can post things there, even once we memorialize it, he would love it, and that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Janie seems to know a lot about it. I'll check with her because I think once this event is over, we can move to do that.
She's the techno gal.
Yeah.
I have several friends who passed a number of years back, and their Facebook pages are still active. You can still go on those pages and post. And Bob's brother's page, and it's been 4 or 5 years since then, but his page is still there. So I think it's not a problem. You can check on it, but if nobody takes the action to remove the page, I think the page stays live.
I agree with that. Yeah, I've heard that if you memorialize it, then you can't post to it. But I do the same. Birthdays, I always go to the pages of my friends that are deceased, or my mom even, and leave notes.
I did want to share, I shared it in our group, but one of the last posts that Edley put on his page was posted on, this was posted on September 14th. And it was a quote from Auguste Rodin. And the quote was this: the main thing is to be moved, to love, to hope, to tremble, to live. And I thought that was so typical of the way Ed lived his life, that and for it to be one of his last posts was almost prophetic. Just
Yeah.
Yes.
so I think being able to visit his site, I would not be in favor of memorializing it.
Okay, we'll figure out what we should do so that people can still access and use it, and we can keep his spirit alive in that way. We'll learn how it all works so that it still can stay active. Okay.
My sister was
Yes.
a good friend of his, and she was not able to get on this Zoom, and she just expressed that she wants to say something about her experience with him, because my sister and Ed were great friends. She's still in Alaska.
You want to? Is she on the phone, or you can hold the phone up?
No, she's not.
I see. I mean,
I
you
don't
could
know
just
if she
call her
has
right
access
now.
to Zoom.
She doesn't. You could just call her and put the phone right next to the speaker of the. That's low tech, right next to the speaker of the computer here. We could say hi if you want, if she wants. Up to you.
Maybe I'll send her, I'll text her the login info and see if she can just get on real quick. We'll see.
Sure. While that's happening, yeah, sure. Anybody, anything.
This about music. Ed and I shared a lot of music, Spotify. That I think
Here's the meeting information right there.
We're with you here, Betsy. We'll here.
Oh, okay. And I think everybody has access, but my favorite playlist from Ed is called Our Song, and I think it's out there for everyone. But it's 8 hours of songs that over the years that meant something to him, or if anyone gets a chance, I recommend that playlist.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't aware of that playlist. It'll be fun to look into.
Yeah, let me know if it's accessible.
Okay. Okay. Well, is there anything else? Otherwise, our plan here is Victoria's going to kind of close this out with whatever she wants, a visualization or reading or whatever she feels is appropriate. But Wayne, Sherry, did you get a hold of her there?
I did, and she said she'll get on his Facebook like tomorrow.
Where will this be available? Where will this recording, how will people see this recording?
So I'm going to do whatever it takes to take this recording and turn it into a link, probably that everyone can just watch on YouTube, but I'll put that link, actually our team here, I won't do it, but we'll get that up on Facebook so that everyone will be able to see the recording of today.
Great idea. And thanks so much for putting all this together.
Yes, it was very, very special event.
Jamal, it was wonderful meeting you, even this way.
Yes, it's been lovely.
Thank you.
Meeting
Yeah,
you.
and Jamal, I'll send you I'll send you a message on via email, and you can let me know about that picture of the musician. That was for your information, that was a Maxell tape ad. Turned into that poster.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Please send me an email.
Will do.
Yeah, thank you, Jamal, very much for first of all, standing up and volunteering to do this. I mean, I think that there was a great desire on a lot of people's part to participate, but it seems kind of, it seems like a big task to do, and you've done a great job. And thanks to your techno wizard, Peter, and Vicky, for you to, thank you for your support with the whole Zoom, having enough room on Zoom for everybody. And this has just been really good. And I would like to be able to share that link, not just on Facebook, but to other people that I know that aren't here today that would have liked to have, heard more about him. So.
I just want to say thank you guys for sharing your stories. And Jamal, you did a great job. Marilyn, I know you worked really hard on the estate. And so my hat's off to you guys.
Thank you for that too.
Yeah, not by myself at all. I mean, it's taken Wayne and Sherry and Linda and Mindy. It's been a village that's helped with everything.
And that speaks to Ed too, that he was a village of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is a special event.
Okay, Victoria, well, whatever you feel is appropriate here, we can end how you wish, and then I'll stay back for a few minutes if anybody else has anything else they want to talk about, but we can officially wrap it up.
All right. Thank you, Jamal. This is a poem by the Irish poet John O'Donoghue, and I had thought to do some sort of visualization, then I sort of ran into this, and it's so beautiful and it's so true. And I may or may not cry while I read it, and if I do, it's okay. When you lose someone you love, your life becomes strange. The ground beneath you becomes fragile. Your thoughts make your eyes unsure. And some dead echo drags your voice down, where words have no confidence. Your heart has grown heavy with loss. And though this loss has wounded others too, no one knows what has been taken from you. When the silence of absence deepens, flickers of guilt kindle regret for all that was left unsaid or undone. There are days when you wake up happy, again inside the fullness of life, until the moment breaks and you're thrown back onto the black tide of loss. Days when you have your heart back, you're able to function well, until in the middle of work or encounter, suddenly, with no warning, you are ambushed by grief. It becomes hard to trust yourself. All you can depend on now is that sorrow will remain faithful to itself more than you. It knows its way and will find the right time to pull and pull the rope of grief until that coiled hill of tears has reduced to its last drop. Gradually, you will learn acquaintance with the invisible form of your departed. And when the work of grief is done, the wound of loss will heal. And you will have learned to wean your eyes from that gap in the air and be able to enter the hearth in your soul where your loved one has awaited your return.
Beautiful, Vicki.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's beautiful. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you all for coming. I know we will all hold him in our hearts and keep remembering him. And I think that's about it for this afternoon. I'm happy to stay back if anyone just wants to say any other little thing, but I'll press the end record button now, and Edley, you'll always be in our hearts, and thank you for all the love and kindness you gave to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
It's hard to sign off.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave.
Bye.
Well, I'll stay back for a little while. Anybody wants to stay back, it's fine, but this can have its own natural ending here.
But we'll see Linda Rogers soon, I hope. And
You will.
And well, thanks lots. And Marilyn, I don't know if you're coming back over. We'll see you, I hope, one of these days again. And
Yeah,
to the
no
rest
plan-
of you,
no plans
Betsy,
right
and I haven't seen you for a long time, but nice seeing all of you
And
and
meeting some new people.
cyber meeting you all, and love you all, and we all love Dad. I think I'm gonna go have a good cry. Okay, we're out of here.
Bye, Wayne and Sherry.
Okay, bye Jamal and Vicki.
Okay.
Thank you again so much for putting this together.
Thank
Great
you.
job. No
All
more
right.
worries. No more worries, Jamal.
Yeah. Okay.
It came out just fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'll go then now too. So, Jim, anything else there? You're muted. Okay. Okay.
Good job, Jamal.
Bye, Peter. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Thank you,
Take
Peter.
care. You're welcome.
That was
It's
so
a joy.
good.
It's a joy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thanks.
No.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Bye, Jim.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.